Hi everyone. Today we are going to learn how to relate fractions to decimals. Now, I know it's a while since we have worked with decimals, so I'm going to start off by giving us a little decimal refresher. So earlier this year, we were able to represent decimals or model decimals using base 10 blocks. So I have here some virtual base 10 blocks for you. So just as a quick reminder, we would use this block to represent one whole. So this is a representation of 1. We would then be able to use this block to represent tenths. It represents tenths because 10 of these make up one whole. So if I click on 10 quickly here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and let's just show the value here. 10 tenths, we would be able to trade 10 tenths in, and it would make another whole. Now, next, the smaller pieces are called hundredths, and that's because it would take 100 of these pieces to make one whole. Now, I'm not going to go through that whole process, but I am going to show you or remind you that 10 of these 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 hundredths is the same thing as 1 tenth, and we can trade that in. So that's just our quick reminder of our place value. We have our ones, our tenths, and our hundredths. And we did go smaller this year and work with thousandths as well, but we're not going to need that for what we're working with today. So I'm just going to close that up. After we worked with base 10 blocks to create models of decimals, we then went in and were able to represent decimals many different ways. So we were able to represent them in standard form, which is just a typical number. To read this out loud, we would say 2 tenths. And down here, we've now gone over into the hundredths column in our place value chart. So we would say this one as 75 hundredths. Now we were able to put those numbers on a place value chart. We were able to show them on a number line. And my double number line here has both tenths at the top and hundredths at the bottom. We could write them in expanded form. Now something like 2 tenths doesn't have anything to expand because there's only a value in one of our place value columns. But for 75 hundredths, we could break that down into the 7 tenths and 5 hundredths. We could say them in words, and then we also used grids to model our numbers. So a tenths grid is our big square broken into 10 pieces, and 2 of them would represent 2 tenths. And our hundredths grid is broken into 100 little squares. So we can see here that we've colored in 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 5 little squares. So that is 75 hundredths. All right, you're going to get a turn to work through those representations before we move on to talk about what this has to do with fractions.